What's going on YouTube? This is Yugioh Rage Gaming. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the best cards in the game currently after the new ban list and some of the best decks in the game. We're going to be going over staple cards that everyone knows about, staple cards that people need to know about, and just generally good cards right now. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that with the new ban list, a lot of people don't like it because certain cards that needed to get limited or banned didn't get limited. It was more of a tune-up than anything. So I'll just get right into it. We're going to go in with the Exceeds that have been really good this format and the past couple formats. I'll start out with the obvious Dragosac. He's just one of the most broken Exceeds right now as a rank 7. I'm including Big Eye in here as well. Both of them are pretty standard for any deck that runs level 7s and can summon rank 7s. He can protect himself. He's really good, especially in Sylvans. Next up is Felgrind. He's just one of the best Exceeds, at least, you know, your generic rank 8, because he can negate. He's a walking, pretty much, Veiler. He's really great. Now, both of these are ran in Sylvans, which is a great deck right now. And I think that if Soul Charge was limited to 1 or 2, Sylvans would not be as good.
Also very prevalent in Mythic Rulers, another good deck of the format that survived.
Let's talk about a few rank 4s. Now, you have the obvious Exciton Knight, who's really great. He's better in some decks than other, because like in Medolce's, for instance, you keep a lot of hands, so he's not that great. But in decks like Infernity, he's perfect, because you don't keep any hand.
I think Exciton is especially good when you punish the players who don't realize that you can make him.
Mm-hmm.
Exciton is one of those cards where he's especially good when you get your opponent right where you want him.
I also think it's good when they chain Fiendish Chain on the summon and you chain his effect.
Oh, that's cute.
It is cute. Next up is 101. We all know about this guy. Probably, right now, the best generic rank 4 Exceed. Still your opponent's special summon monster, and he can take 3 hits before he's off the board if you still have your material. Chain, he's just great in a lot of different decks. Helps dump those cards in the grave and then stack other cards such as BLS on top. Dweller, probably right next there to 101. A lot of decks have graveyard effects, Sylvans being one of them. I play Sylvans, so when people summon this on me, it really hurts. It's not that hard to get over, but if you've got Tin Plate Goldfish under it, he's got a nice amount of attack power.
And this will also be good lean into the new set, because it will also be good against the effect of Saddles when they're sent to the graveyard.
Yeah, Shadows.
Dark World Part 2, really.
Dark World, really. And then, of course, you've got to have Mr. Dracula right here. He's just a great all-around rank 3. He's probably right next to Mecha Equipped, who a lot of players, including myself, really like, because he's versatile. When someone summons 101, chain his effect, put him in defense, they can't take him. He's good for protecting cards. I really like him.
Hell, if you play in the right build, he's great in Electronics.
But enough of that. Let's talk about some of the Exceeds that aren't exactly generic. We're going to talk about one of the best Exceeds in a deck that is a good deck, but for some reason it's just not doing as well.
Don't say Queen Tiramisu. There's just so much that can be said great about a effect that gets rid of the field while not destroying and not targeting, as well as returning their own Medolces from the graveyard.
Also, you can run Rhapsody in Berserk, number 80 in here, and you can equip Rhapsody in Berserk to her after you banish 2 cards from your opponent's grave, and it makes her a 3900 body with Chateau on board, which is just absolutely amazing. So, I mean, just great cards in general. The issue with Medolce's that I can see is the new game mechanic with the field card spells having 2, because with Medolce it was good just to have 1 field card spell against your opponent and having them play 1 and then you playing another one over.
And also the first turn draw, new mechanic, how you can't have their extra draw phase card, forcing Medolce to go second because they need to get to those combo pieces faster. Which in a way is good because that helps you, like, they're already good to go on their plays, but at the same time they're also having a high risk of running into bomb with Black Horse Heaven, Torrential Warning.
So this brings us into our next topic, as in Medolce's as a deck in a whole. While they're a great deck, they are severely hurt by the not being able to draw going first, because it's a combo-based deck with Hootcake, and I have to say that having 6 cards going first with Medolce was a lot better than only having 5. Now,
I've ran the deck since the start, and many times I have had hands that have been unplayable from my first 5 cards to amazing after that 6th card.
Now, some people think, as well as I think now, that if you were to run the hands in the deck, it would be better. Now, I think that it would be better because the hands are very good in the game right now. They're just prevalent in a lot of different decks, and they're just good for all-around destruction. Hands and Madolches makes the deck significantly better and more playable. At first, I was very opposed to putting them in the deck, but now after doing some play testing on various websites in which you can play children's card games,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
they work pretty well in the deck. Also, they're both level 4 for exceeding. It's standard stuff that everyone knows about. But the hands are extremely broken in the game right now, and why not play them in the deck? Now,
On a different note, since we're having a card discussion, I like how within the past couple of months, I guess the past few archetypes that have been released, Sylvans, Maldolches, hell, even Scraps, a presence of field spells have increased in this game. Whether or not they've been used, I noticed that archetypes are starting to have more field spells.
Prophecy.
How you can forget
Let's
Prophecy?
start with Prophecy.
No,
Really.
the prophecies. And
That's a deck that got better upon the new game mechanics.
Of
since
course.
Tower is more protected.
And, in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh, you had your mountains or your wetlands or whatever that called, or Umi, and that was good for a good chuckle. And here we are with these big, like Mount Sylvania, and which is funny in regards to that because not a lot of Sylvan decks that I've seen that are let's go the aggro don't even use them.
I don't run it in my Sylvan deck.
I
It's
find
alright.
it interesting.
I'd rather run Convulsion of Nature to troll people, but that's just me.
I wonder if Close Forest still works. Like
Close
it should.
Forest still works. They can't play one over it.
That's
or they
great.
can't play another one. Now, let's talk about one more thing with these hands. There are a few ways to counter them.
You have 2 of them.
One of them being D-Prison, which is now back at 3 with the new ban list. It's a great card for countering the hands and other cards that work based on being destroyed by battle or just in general. Now, because of the fact that Soul Drain is at 1, there aren't so many outs. Now, as I said before, we have Abyss Dweller, who really hurts the hands because they activate Engrave. Now, he's just not enough in most cases. He doesn't have a lot of attack. But the thing is people that will play hands, they will overlay into him with Ice Hand because he's a water and he has more attack. So it's kind of, both sides of the coin here, really.
Slug it.
But these 2 cards, I definitely will see D-Prison being played more. I'm actually favoring D-Prison over Mirror Force now with these hands out.
Well, that's amusing.
It
I've
is
loved it
amusing.
for a while.
I've always loved Mirror Force as a card, but I don't want to Mirror Force an Ice Hand. Or, no, I don't want to Mirror Force an Fire Hand. I'd rather D-Prison it.
I'm going to say my personal opinion on this one. I've not liked Mirror Force for several formats now.
That's
I like
perfectly understandable.
Mirror Force back. It was the most broken trap card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Let's go into Trap since we're talking about D-Prison and Soul Drain here.
Cool.
Now, some of the best traps in the game, in my opinion, one of them is definitely Trap Stun. Trap Stun, as I said before in my other videos, is a more of start your combos off, not a reaction trap. It's really good. It gives you blanket protection. I like it. I actually think it's it's probably my favorite card right now.
It's great.
And then we have Wiretap, which is just a must in a side deck or maining because it stops your opponent from using their Trap Stun and going off. Or, most importantly, it stops that Sanctum and they don't get that Sanctum's effect. It just goes back into the deck, which is just great because it doesn't destroy it. It just puts it back in the deck. That, by far, has to be one of the best things about Trap Stun. And then also being Spell Speed 3 really helps, being that counter trap. So I think that these 2 cards will have just a lot of use coming up with the next meta. Also, because we're in the format of where Summon Ryo, set 5, your turn. I mean, come on. That's not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It really isn't.
Just playing with yourself at that point.
Let's talk about, of course, the other siding traps you can side. 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror. I mean, I'll side 3 of each. It doesn't really matter. You can side 2, you can side 1. Let's just talk about this. Come on, people. Why wouldn't you side this? think about it. You've got all these dark decks running around. You've got all these light decks. So let's just talk about the main two. Infernity, Lightsworn. It stops both the decks. It really hurts them a whole lot. And they're just great to run.
As well as Saddles, Artifacts.
Shadows and
Or
Artifacts.
Satellites, or whatever those guys are called.
Oh, the,
Satellite Knights?
Satellites?
yeah.
Satellites works.
Satellites.
We'll go with satellites.
So, I mean, this is pretty redundant that we're talking about it, but we're just going over some of the best cards in the game. Now, let me break off and say about Consecrated Light. Expect to see this sided more. It hasn't been sided as much, but it just hurts all dark decks. It really hurts them. You can't normal special summon dark monsters. You can't activate their effects. I mean, why wouldn't you summon it? If you're playing Shaddolls, they can't get over it. Unless they're, of course, playing Lightsworn and Shaddolls, which a lot of them do. But
If you're playing Dark Lord, you want
Personally, against Saddles, it's one of the decks I won't really like Consecrate as much as because they'll be setting their monsters for the flip effect anyways.
they still won't be able to activate their effects, though.
True.
But if you have Shadow Imprisoning Mirror and this guy, I mean, they're not going to do anything.
They're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
They're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. And if you can protect this guy, he's really good for just stopping your opponent's plays. Let's go into some of the other traps that everybody knows about that are real good right now. I'll start us off with Solemn Warning.
Fake Trap.
It's definitely fake trap, really. Solemn Warning is definitely still a good trap, very prevalent in the game. People don't like paying 2,000, but come on, it stops monsters. And then, of course, the other one-ofs that are great are Bottomless and Torrential.
Which have gotten even better with Pendulums.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Two of our only traps in the game right now that help the mass removal other than Darkfall. I mean, these two you're going to be seeing in almost every deck. They're just great traps in general. Bottomless has always been good.
I was almost gunning for the not banning, but the further limitation of Torrential Tribute with Pendulums. But then a thought occurred to me, well, if they do that, then that's less resources to get rid of those big pendulum pushes that you couldn't stop normally. So it makes sense to keep Torrential in. That was 2 now? 3?
So one.
Oh, well then never mind.
It's a 3 in
That
Japan,
entire-
1 in the PCG.
Yeah, we need to go back to the OCG, guys. We're going to Japan. We're going to collect some Desus and get some Goyo Guardians.
Now let's talk about Breakthrough Skill. The card that has always been good, but is recently favored over Fiendish Chain because of these effects where you need to tribute them. And I like Breakthrough Skill as a card. I think it's really great. People can play it in Lightsworns. If it's engraved, you can use it. That's great and all. I still prefer Fiendish Chain over Breakthrough Skill to certain decks, but Breakthrough Skill has just been a better card in the game so far. Now everyone knows this, and that's why everyone's happy it got reprinted in the new Lightsworn Structure deck. It's just a great card all around.
As well as if they're going aggressive with the deck, if you activate Trap Stun, you can still use the secondary effects to benefit from Graveyard, like stop their Felgrand, and still go through.
Alright, now let's talk about the big controversial card that everyone thought was going to get limited but didn't.
I did.
Soul Charge.
I also thought it would be
Now,
limited.
well, most people don't think the card is balanced. It's a very balanced card. You have to pay 1,000 for each monster, and you can enter your battle phase. It's a very balanced card, and you've got Torrential and Bottomless and Warning and other cards to stop this card. And I think it's a balanced card, but as in my Sylvan deck, if it got limited, I don't think Sylvans would be as good without it. Now, when it comes to Soul Charge, others might argue that if you set up your board with this card, it's going to be very hard to get over it, but still they're paying life points to summon. It's not a free card.
Sounds like more of a problem. The card itself, it's a balance. It's what it's kind out with it that is the more issue.
Now, decks like Infernity that run Soul Charge, it's a plus in that deck, hardcore. But other decks such as Sylvan, it's a plus, but it's not. You're not plussing in the same way. Sure, you can make double Felgrand, or sure, you can make Aurea, or Dragosac, or Big Eye, and just go nuts, but you still can't enter the battle phase. With Infernity, you can set up all your back row and everything else and just crap on your opponent. I'm happy that Soul Charge stayed at 3. I think that's where it should have stayed. I'm sure that as the game progresses more, we might see it go down, but that's all pending. It's all up to Konami. Now for my favorite spell in the game, Book of Moon.
Yay!
I love Book of Moon as a card. It's so good.
Your tears taste delicious.
They do taste delicious.
Still one of the best cards. Can
Still
be
one of
used
the best cards in
offensively,
the game.
defensively. It's great in saddles.
It's great in almost any deck. Book of Moon has always been a good card, and the reason why I want to bring it up is because of the simple Veiler. Oh, I'm going to summon my Mageline. Okay, I'm going to Veiler it. Alright, Book of Moon my Mageline. Hey, check that out. I still get Mageline's effect. That's great.
Cute.
Same can also be said with Veiler as with Breakthrough.
Indeed.
Can I go back to the Soul Charge for a second?
Yeah, go ahead and go back to Soul Charge.
Alright. Now, I'm late on the Soul Charge bandwagon. I don't play a lot of top meta decks. I'm a broke guy. But you know what's great? And we're going to talk Nordics for a second. When you have a Venatus and the gray and white goat, and you make a Thor, and you Soul Charge him, and make an Odin, and set a Lance, and maybe a Trapstone or a Venus Chain for good measure, which I've done. That's a great feeling. It gives an old archetype, which never had any real big push, what it needs to be a lot more threatening. Maybe not top meta, maybe not even second meta, but you know what? It's great. It's just one of those things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you go, hey, I just did this. Then let me taste your tears.
Soul Charge is a great card.
It's good,
I
it's
love
good.
it. I
It's
think
good.
it deserves to stay at 3.
I would have been happy at 1, but in situations like that where I can just go, hey, look, Thor, Odin, or you pick your poison, whatever deck you want to put Soul Charge in. It really does make older decks that don't have a lot of support a lot better. It makes them, I don't want to say consistent, but it gives them field presence they couldn't get on their own. And they don't always have to attack to keep that board presence. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Let's talk about hand traps next, because hand traps are always good.
Ham traps?
Ham traps.
Ham traps?
Ham traps.
Ham traps.
Ham sandwiches.
Mmm. Peanut butter jam.
Delicious.
Delicious indeed. Let's talk about the 3 big hand traps. We've got Effect Veiler, Max C, and DD Crow.
Oh.
All
Classics.
very good hand traps. It's like the holy trinity of
Ham
holy
sandwich.
trinities.
The holy
Of ham
trinity of
sandwiches, exactly. Veiler will always be a good card, Maxi will always be a good card, and DD Crow is going to be even better than it's ever been. Reason being is you've got these decks running around that Graveyard is what they use. Graveyard is it. So when they go to Soul Charge and they pick their targets, oh, that's cool, DD Crow. That's great, you're not getting that card. Lightsworn, oh, you've got 4 to JD? Nah, you're just
Cute.
bad.
Not to mention the ruling a few months ago where monsters in the graveyard that activate in graveyard have to remain in the graveyard to use their effects.
And of course, you've got Max C. Max C is a great card to have against any deck that special summons.
It's a great deterrent.
It really is.
Or deterrent.
Max C is one of the few cards besides Felgrand and Skill Drain that really hurts Madolches. It's there for players that want to special summon, and well, maybe I shouldn't special summon. They're going to draw like 4 or 5 cards, So Max C is always going to be a good card.
It's like, can I max see your Infernity play? Ah, crap.
Well, I don't care. You can Max C my
Take the
Infernities.
challenge, man. You might be able to get through.
I'll
You
still
never
set
know.
all my stuff.
That's when they have to be careful of the Gores, the Thrag, the Veiler.
Storm. Barrier.
Now, let's throw Debunk in here. Debunk is a good card, but I feel that it's very situational because you're not going to run into these all the time, and you're not always going to have Debunk set. I know people that will side Debunk against decks that play the hand traps in them, but, I mean, hey, let me just go ahead and activate my Trapstone on your turn.
The main reason Debunk is so great is because it hits graveyard effects as well, so
Yeah.
primarily it's against the hands.
Exactly. And then I'm going to activate Trapstone on my turn. You're going to normal summon a monster, that's cool. I'm going to Veiler. Nice Debunk. Oh, that's cool. You want to Debunk? Wiretap. I like Debunk. I think it's a decent card, but I feel like it's too situational. Now let's talk about some good decks in the format. We'll talk about some of the decks that I play, and then a few other decks in the format that are good. We'll talk about Sylvans. Sylvans are a great deck right now. They're very fast, very fun, can summon a whole lot of monsters. With Lone Fire in them, you can do Quasar with 2 cards. I mean, there's just so many different variants with this deck you can run. And Sylvans have their own hand trap against trap cards, which is Rose Archer. It's a great deck, and I feel like if we didn't have Soul Charge at 3, the deck wouldn't be as good. Another deck that's really good right now.
Never mind the fact that you can just drop like a Felgrand or 2 Felgrands in one turn.
Yeah.
Yay!
Primarily with Soul Charge, unless
that's not fun.
The next deck that's really great is Infernities. Soul Charge made this deck so much more broken. It took care of a lot of the consistency issues that the deck has had in the past with the loss of Launcher. Launcher is better than Soul Charge in Infernity, in the deck because of
its ability.
Well, also that, but
it's a mighty fine replacement though.
Battle phase, but the first effect of Launcher. I mean, you can ditch a card from hand if you have too many monsters. These decks are really good right now. Lightsworn's a very good deck. I don't have my Lightsworn deck on me, but you get the idea with it. It's a deck that can be played as a budget deck that's really good. And come on, JD is probably the best monster in the game right now. He's just so good. He's a 3,000 body, and you can pay 1,000 and wipe everything. And he's so easy to get out in Lightsworn.
The great thing about the 3 of the decks that you mentioned, Lightsworns and Infernities, is they're not that hard to make. And by that I mean they're not hard to actually go out there and find cards and make the deck in real life, outside of whatever your DN or Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or Dev Pro. So I think the only bit of money you would really sink into the deck would be the extra. Other than that, no, not bad. Soul Charge, which is not an expensive card, makes these 2 budget-oriented decks even better.
Now let's talk about,
especially after the Lightsworn deck,
another deck that has
released.
Seen a lot of play and has recently been a little bit better with Soul Charge, Inzectors. Now, Inzectors have a cool little OTK with Beatron, and with Soul Charge it makes the deck all that much more better. Now, Hornet and Dragonfly being at 1 hurts the deck, but as long as you can get them in the grave and your opponent doesn't DD Crow it... I mean, we've got Leviair. They're level 3. We can make Leviair in this deck.
And very sensible with Centipede.
Exactly.
Yes, we can.
I think Soul Charge has made Inzector all that much more better. That's just my personal opinion.
So should we title this video, We All Love Soul Charge?
Yeah, we should definitely title it We All Love Soul Charge.
We All Love Soul Charge.
The next deck that we're going to have here is Medolches. Now,
it's canon.
Medolches are a great deck, but with the new mechanic, I feel like they've lost a little bit of steam. Now, a way to remedy that is putting in the hands into the deck, which makes it a little bit better, makes them a little bit more explosive with what they can do. I think that the hands have also helped the game a whole lot, but they've also hurt the game too. Medolches have been a deck that's been around for many formats, and I feel that they've just gotten better, but with the new mechanic, it hurts them a little bit. You guys have any opinions on that?
I very much agree, because you may be seeing decks that rely on field spells more and they're not winning that field spell war as it formerly was. And sometimes that will hurt you, because the easiest way to get rid of a field spell was using another field spell. They're also having to use up their resources to try and get rid of that, and they also have to go second to get that extra card, because it's a very combo-oriented deck.
Now, I'm just going to add here, because we're Yu-Gi-Oh! Rage Gaming, we hate your back row, so we love Trapstun and MST and Wiretap.
Oh, yeah.
Just the holy trinity of no back row for you, no Yu-Gi-Oh! For you. And
I like 7 tools.
7 tools is good.
I personally like Dark Bribe in my Medulte.
I like Dark Bribe. It's good against Prophecy. Drawing the
So
card
is Nat Beast.
is a downside. No, well, Nat Beast is just unfair against Prophecy. Unless they decide to world nuke you right off the bat, so I mean, there's always that.
No.
Or just drop Priestess.
Oh yeah, Priestess. But if you've got the protection for Nat Beast, you're fine. Now, because this is Yu-Gi-Oh! Rage Gaming, we have to have a little bit of rage in here. I'm going to talk about cards that I despise, cards that I loathe, cards that you just hate to see.
Oh, here we go, guys. All right.
One of the cards that I love, but I hate so much, is Dark Arm. I hate getting sacked by Dark Arm. I really hate that. Dark Arm is just such a mean card to get sacked by.
Oh, please show us.
Now, there have been rumors with this card that, hey, this card might go back to 2, it might even go to 3. No, this card needs to stay at 1. It is too good. We do not need to see Teledad again.
I don't think Dark Arm Dragon is one of those cards that need to go back to 2. Even Teledad's never going to come back, and even if the deck can sort of shamble in at a husk of what it used to be, it's never going to be as powerful as it once was.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad, still on his own, he's still a great card.
But
and
the
there
reason-
are plenty of decks that can still utilize it.
I
very
love
well.
him in my Inzectors.
The reason why he is such a good card, as comparable to JD, is JD can only run in one deck, and that's Lightsworn. He can be splashed in any dark deck, as
Lots
you see
of
here in Inzectors. You've got, if he was back to 3, I would play 3 in my Infernity deck. Why not?
Oh, you bet your marshmallows. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a player who's ever run Teledad or just has an appreciation for Dark Arm Dragon who's going to go, at least at one point in time, maybe I should run 3 of these in a deck. And they may not, but you bet they're going to think about it.
Even 2 is
Even
broken.
2 is plenty.
Look at what's going on in the OCD where they have 2.
Now, 2 cards that I absolutely despise, but I do run in my own decks. I hate people running them against me. One is Wing Blast. I hate when somebody Wing Blasts me.
I can't stand that card.
Because it sets you back a turn. It's so annoying. And then, of course, Vanity's Emptiness. When they lock you with Key Beetle, it's just got to be the most annoying thing.
The salt runs
Now,
deep.
I play my Infernities, I run my Emptiness in there, I Key Beetle locked, people get mad, but, I mean, hey, it's just so mean. I hate them, but I love them. It's a love-hate
Yeah,
relationship
it's
with these
Yu-Gi-Oh.
cards.
You know, you like making the plays, but man, does it make you salt when it's the tables are turned.
Completely the salt.
All the salt.